Oui, oui, oui. C'est comme un setup un peu comme un discours du trône.
Oui, parce que ça Sandrine, les attentes chez Sandrine, mais
tu regarderas tes notes pour les bancs de la tribune, parce qu'il y a juste 16 places disponibles. Stéphanie a envoyé une note hier.
Ouais.
Fait que si on a plus que 16 personnes, ben on fait un tirage.
Merci.
Au revoir.
Okay.
Let's get this shit on the road.
Okay, just
Je vais juste prendre le petit lapel et puis les.
Yeah, just on the side.
On the other side there.
Okay.
And then I just ask you to go around because otherwise your head's going to be in the shot.
George. How are you?
On stage, I would just ask you to just go straight down and to the right, and then right seats on the side. Yep. Heads up. All the way down. Just to the right.
Bonjour à tous, bienvenue à cette conférence de presse. Je suis Boris Proulx, président de la tribune de la presse parlementaire canadienne et nous avons une conférence de presse aujourd'hui avec Daniel Bernhard, Chief Executive Officer of the Institute for Canadian Citizenship. A little reminder, if you are nearby, a little earpiece, just please be mindful of putting it away from the microphone. It can create hurtful audio feedback for our interpreter friends. On that, we'll have a few remarks by Daniel Bernhard, Chief Executive Officer of the Institute for Canadian Citizenship, after which we'll take some questions first in the room and then online. On that, you have the floor.
Thank you. Good morning. I'll start with prepared remarks in French, then in English, and then be happy to take your questions. Alors, bonjour, je me présente, Daniel Bernhard, chef de la direction de l'Institut pour la citoyenneté canadienne. L'Institut est un organisme de bienfaisance pan-canadienne qui aspire à un Canada où les immigrants ne se contentent pas de venir, mais où ils restent, deviennent des citoyens et contribuent de façon maximale à notre réussite collective. Nous sommes connus pour notre recherche en matière de politique publique, mais aussi pour notre laissez-passer culturel Canu, qui est une application mobile qui donne aux nouveaux arrivants de l'accès gratuit ou à prix réduit à plus de 2000 expériences culturelles, naturelles et sportives autour du Canada. C'est le plus grand service d'intégration pour les immigrants au pays. Notre rapport annuel des occasions manquées examine le déclin du taux de rétention des immigrants au Canada, particulièrement dans les professions où nos besoins sont les plus criants. Ce matin, nous lançons Prêt à contribuer, un nouveau rapport qui propose une solution novatrice, enfin capable de régler nos lacunes en matière de reconnaissance des titres de compétences obtenus à l'étranger pour toutes les professions dans toutes les provinces et territoires en même temps. La pratique trompeuse que le Canada fait subir à trop d'immigrants est l'une des principales raisons pour lesquelles des nouveaux arrivants talentueux choisissent d'aller contribuer ailleurs. Notre système d'immigration, hautement sélectif, choisit des gens qui possèdent exactement les compétences professionnelles dont nous avons le plus besoin. Mais après leur arrivée, nous leur barrons la route vers leur profession. Les immigrants se sont trahis et le travail pour lequel nous les avons invités reste inaccompli. Pour le Canada, c'est mettre la rondelle dans notre propre filet, surtout dans le domaine de la santé. On l'entend souvent, 6 millions de Canadiens n'ont pas de médecin de famille. Ils comptent ainsi sur les salles d'urgence pour des soins de base, mais ces salles d'urgence ferment régulièrement leurs portes faute de personnel. En 2023, environ 28 000 personnes sont mortes en attendant une intervention médicale, alors que des dizaines de milliers de médecins et d'infirmières immigrants qualifiés se trouvent déjà ici sans pouvoir contribuer. 640 000 immigrants sont surqualifiés pour leur emploi actuel. C'est 230 % au-dessus de la moyenne. Des experts dénoncent cette situation depuis des décennies, mais le taux de surqualification des immigrants continue de s'aggraver. Si ce taux revenait à la moyenne canadienne, environ 27 000 infirmières et 16 000 médecins pourraient renforcer notre système de santé sans augmenter la population. Nous n'avons pas admis ces professionnels pour conduire un taxi ou nous servir du café. Nous les avons admis pour renforcer nos services publics et c'est nous qui souffrons en les empêchant de faire ce pourquoi nous les avons fait venir. Le coût de cette mise à l'écart des immigrants qualifiés ne fera qu'augmenter avec le vieillissement du Canada. Les premières baby boomers atteignent 80 ans cette année. D'ici 2031, le nombre de personnes de plus de 80 ans augmentera d'environ 40 %. C'est plus de 500 000 octogénaires supplémentaires en seulement 5 ans et nous empêchons de travailler des professionnels qualifiés en santé. Le constat central de ce rapport est que les provinces ont le pouvoir de mettre fin au processus discriminatoire de reconnaissance des titres de compétences au Canada, mais négligent de l'exercer. Il semblerait que les ordres professionnels ignorent les lois provinciales et il semblerait aussi que les provinces les laissent faire. Pourquoi nos dirigeants préfèrent-ils que des Canadiens souffrent et meurent de longues listes d'attente plutôt que de mobiliser des dizaines de milliers d'immigrants qualifiés qui sont déjà ici et qui sont désespérés de nous aider? Ce rapport propose une nouvelle loi sur l'équité en matière de délivrance de permis d'exercice. À l'image de la loi canadienne sur la santé, elle établirait des normes simples et raisonnables que les provinces participantes devraient imposer aux plus de 500 ordres professionnels qui régissent et les récompenserait de le faire. Fini le rafistolage au cas par cas avec un seul ordre professionnel dans un seul endroit pour du progrès marginal. Les ordres professionnels des provinces qui conforment à la loi proposée évalueraient les immigrants uniquement en fonction de leur capacité à exercer de manière sécuritaire, les soumettraient aux mêmes normes que les candidats formés au Canada, rendrait des décisions sans délai indu et éliminerait les exigences impossibles et discriminatoires. Comme, par exemple, exiger de l'expérience canadienne pour obtenir un permis, alors qu'il faut un permis pour obtenir l'expérience canadienne. Les Canadiens s'attendent à ce que des professionnels soumis à une réglementation respectent des normes très élevées en matière de qualité et de sécurité. Et notre proposition ne vise pas à transiger sur ces normes. Il s'agit plutôt de réduire les formalités administratives qui ne sont pas nécessaires afin de déterminer aussi rapidement et à moindre coût que possible si un immigrant est en mesure de répondre à nos attentes et, le cas échéant, de lui permettre de commencer à travailler sans délai. Comme pour la loi canadienne sur la santé, les provinces devraient accepter de participer à la loi sur l'équité en matière de délivrance de permis d'exercice. Mais celles qui refusent devront se confronter au regard de leurs électeurs, âgés ou autrement, ainsi que leurs familles, et justifier pourquoi ils devront attendre encore 1 an pour ce remplacement de genou, pendant qu'un immigrant qualifié qui en a effectué des centaines est déjà ici est réduit à l'inaction. Corriger la discrimination inscrite dans les processus de reconnaissance des titres de compétences, ce n'est pas seulement un service que nous rendons aux immigrants, c'est nous rendre service à nous-mêmes. Les salles d'urgence ne devraient pas avoir à fermer les fins de semaine. Nos proches ne devraient pas avoir à languir en douleur pendant des années. L'aide dont nous avons besoin est déjà ici. Quelle honte de la refuser. Cela ne se limite pas au domaine de la santé. Les enseignantes et les éducateurs en petite enfance immigrantes peuvent réduire la surpopulation dans les salles de classe et éliminer les listes d'attente énormes qui empêchent trop de parents, surtout des femmes, de retourner au travail. Les ingénieurs immigrants peuvent hisser nos infrastructures aux standards mondiaux. Je pourrais continuer, mais je m'en abstiens. Le cliché honteux du médecin immigrant qui conduit un taxi mérite de devenir un vestige de notre passé. Les contributions dans un Canada à l'auteur de nos ambitions, les contributions exceptionnelles des immigrants en santé, en ingénierie et dans d'autres professions deviendront le nouveau cliché. Il est bien temps. Bientôt, les taxis vont se conduire toutes seuls. Okay, in English, it's a bit shorter. Good morning. I'm Daniel Bernhard. I'm CEO of the Institute for Canadian Citizenship. The ICC is a national charity working towards a Canada where talented immigrants don't just come, but stay, become citizens, succeed, and contribute maximally to Canada's success. We're known for our public policy research in areas of immigrant retention and integration, but also for the Canoe Access Pass, which is a mobile app that gives newcomers free and discounted access to over 2,000 of Canada's best culture, nature, and sport experiences. It is the largest integration program for newcomers in the country, and stay tuned. Within the next few weeks, we will announce our 1 millionth member enrolled in the pass. Our annual Leaky Bucket report examines Canada's declining immigrant retention rate, especially in key professions where our needs are highest. And this morning, we're releasing a new report called Ready to Contribute, which proposes a novel solution with the potential to finally solve Canada's credential recognition failings, not piece by piece, but for every profession in every province and territory all at once. The cruel bait and switch that Canada plays on so many immigrants is a major reason why talented newcomers leave to contribute their skills elsewhere. Canada's highly competitive immigration system picks people who have specific professional competencies that we need most. But upon arrival, we make it very, very hard for them to practice in these professions. Immigrants understandably feel betrayed, and the work that we invited them here to do remains undone. This is an epic own goal for Canada, especially in healthcare. We hear all the time the stats. 6 million Canadians lack a family doctor. They rely on emergency departments for basic care, but Canada's emergency departments now regularly close on weekends and evenings due to staffing shortages. In 2023, an estimated 28,000 people died in Canada awaiting a medical procedure or diagnostic. Meanwhile, tens of thousands of qualified immigrant doctors and nurses are already here, and we prevent them from helping. 640,000 immigrants are overqualified for their current job. That's 230% higher than the Canadian average. Now, advocates have been calling this out for decades and decades, but this report shows that the overqualification rate among immigrants is actually getting worse. If the immigrant overqualification rate were to fall to the Canadian average, an estimated 27,000 nurses and 16,000 doctors could jump into our healthcare system, our ailing healthcare system, without growing the population by a single body. Canada did not admit these people to drive Uber or serve coffee. We admitted them to deliver public services, and we are the ones who suffer by preventing them from doing the essential work that we brought them here to do. The cost of forcing talented immigrants to the sidelines will only grow as Canada ages. The first baby boomers turn 80 this year. There are already 1.5 million, approximately, people over 80 in Canada, and by 2031, the population over 80 will swell by over 40%. We're talking about more than 500,000 extra octogenarians in just 5 years. And we are stopping qualified healthcare professionals from working? The core finding of this report is that provinces have the power to end Canada's discriminatory credential recognition practices, but too often neglect to use it. It seems as though licensing bodies routinely ignore provincial laws, and it seems as though provinces routinely let them do it. Why do our leaders prefer for Canadians to suffer and die from long wait times instead of activating tens of thousands of qualified immigrants who are already here and desperate to help? This just makes no sense for Canada. And it's not just healthcare. Immigrant teachers and early child educators can reduce overcrowding in classrooms and eliminate wait lists that keep too many parents out of the workforce, mostly women. Immigrant engineers can help upgrade our infrastructure to global standards. I could go on and on, but I'll save you. I'll save you from that. This paper proposes a new federal Fair Licensing Act. Like the Canada Health Act, it would set simple, reasonable standards for participating provinces to enforce upon the 500 plus licensing bodies they govern, and then reward those provinces for doing so. Instead of tinkering around the edges with one college in one place making marginal improvements, compliant provinces' licensing bodies would assess immigrants only based on their ability to practice safely and hold them to the same standard as Canadian-trained applicants, provide timely decisions, and do away with impossible discriminatory standards like mandating work experience to get a license, but requiring a license to get the work experience. Canadians rightly expect regulated professionals to meet very, very high standards of quality and safety, and our proposal is not about compromising on those standards. It's about cutting needless red tape to find out as quickly and inexpensively as possible whether an immigrant can meet our professional expectations, and if so, putting them to work straight away in the areas of greatest need for Canada. Just like the Canada Health Act, provinces would need to agree voluntarily to participate in this Fair Licensing Act. But those who don't will have to look their elderly voters and their families in the eye and tell them why they have to wait yet another year for that hip replacement, even while a qualified immigrant who's performed hundreds of them is just standing idly by. Fixing discrimination in the credentialing process isn't just about helping immigrants, it's about helping ourselves. Emergency rooms don't have to close on the weekends. Our loved ones don't have to languish in agony for years awaiting care. Qualified help is already here. Shame on us for refusing it. The shameful cliche about doctors driving taxis deserves to become a relic of Canada's past. In a successful Canadian future, immigrants' exceptional contributions to medicine, engineering, and other professions, that will become the new cliche, and not a moment too soon, because the taxis will soon be driving themselves. Thank you. I'm happy to take any questions.
Merci. Thank you. I don't see any questions in the room. I see someone online. Nicolas Keung, Toronto Star. Would you like to have a questions? Il n'y a pas de micro. Oh.
Hi. What's the next steps, from this report? Are you going to take this to the immigration minister, to different cabinets? Because obviously it also involves other provinces and territories as well.
Thanks for your question, Nicholas. This report proposes a solution that was tailor-made, designed intentionally to succeed where so many past attempts have failed. And one of the reasons, in my estimation, why past attempts have failed is because they've tried to negotiate a consensus in private in advance of action, which just hasn't materialized. 500 plus professional bodies, provinces, territories, all kinds of people. And so what we're trying to do is to bring that debate into the public and to ask provincial leaders, federal leaders, the leaders of professional bodies, why they think Canadians should simply accept that the doctor should be driving a taxi instead of serving patients at a time when our emergency departments are regularly closing, for example. So we hope that this debate will happen in public, and we've also modeled this for speed of implementation. We've modeled this on successful collaborations like the Canada Health Act, like the child care agreements, like the housing accelerator payments, in which the federal government has worked with provinces and municipalities on areas of the latter's competence and jurisdiction to coordinate action effectively on areas of national priority. So we will be bringing this to various federal ministries. We've already started that conversation. We're open to conversation with any professional bodies that like to make improvements on their own, as well as with provinces. There are bright spots. The province of Nova Scotia, for example, has done something similar with the qualification of immigrant doctors. They've collapsed the assessment process to 12 weeks. With great success. And so we'd be open to working with anybody else that would like to implement these things, but the time to act was yesterday. This subject has been in the public domain since 1966, when it was first mentioned in a federal policy paper. Since then, we've put people on the moon. We've eradicated smallpox. Canada's invented the smartphone. We've brought in marriage equality. We've patched the ozone layer. So I fail to be convinced by anyone who tells me that this is too complicated of a problem for us to solve. We need to get to it right away. Canadians expect it.
Follow-up, Nicholas?
Can I have a follow-up question?
Go ahead.
Is it, in your view, is it just a matter of the lack of political will? Like, what makes you feel like this time is any different? That this would make a difference at this moment of time here?
I think that one of the major differences as Canada ages, and I know I've talked a lot about healthcare, even though it's not only a question of healthcare. As Canada ages, we're starting to realize that the question of accreditation for globally trained professionals is not just a question of charity towards immigrants. Previous indications or previous reports on this in the media have focused on the sad, sorry immigrant who's very, depressed and upset because he thought he could be a doctor and now he can't be, and he's gone through all his savings and he might go home and we should feel so badly for him. But now with emergency departments closing regularly, with wait times for basic procedures now taking years and years, we're starting to realize that the real losers in this whole situation are actually us, our Canadians. And so we're trying to draw attention to something Canadians need. Healthcare in particular, but also early child care. There's no reason why your child should have to wait until they're 16 before they get a spot in daycare. And that is currently the circumstance, even while qualified people are here and prevented from waiting. So I think we're hoping to reignite this conversation because, as I said earlier, I don't think anybody should have to just accept that this is how it's going to be. I will not personally accept that this is just how it's going to be. And so we would like to put the question to political leaders, do you accept that this is how it's going to be? And if not, maybe this is a solution that can help you get a head start to finally solving this problem after decades and decades of inaction.
Merci. Thank you. That puts an end to this press conference. Merci beaucoup.